Hello, folks. This is your host, Tammy Tuckey, and you are now listening to the Tiara Talk Show. We bring you rare interviews with the makers of Disney magic. Whether they be singers, actors, Imagineers, animators, they have all made their mark on the Disney name. Be sure to check out the show notes, other episodes, contests, our social media pages from Facebook to Twitter, and more on our official website at www.thetiaratalkshow.com. Are you looking to plan and book an upcoming Disney vacation? Contact the Tiara Talk Show's official travel agent, James from Destinations in Florida, by visiting destinationsinflorida.com/tiara for a free quote. The link is also included in the show notes on our website. All guest opinions are theirs and theirs alone and do not represent the opinions of the Tiara Talk Show or the host. The Tiara Talk Show is not associated with the Disney Company. Thank you for tuning into this week's episode. And from all of us here at the Tiara Talk Show, have a hoop-de-doo day. I'm excited to welcome this week's Tiara Talk Show guest, D23 Senior Manager of D23, the official Disney fan club, Jeffrey Epstein, to the show. Welcome, Jeffrey.
Hello there. Great to be here.
I know. Great to have you on the show today. I first wanted to start out, before we get into D23 and what it's all about, especially the expo coming up, I wanted to talk about your beginnings as a young kid getting involved with Disney, because you wrote such a beautiful article, which I'm going to include in the show notes, in which you have a photo of you in the hoop-de-doo, and you explain that Disney was like kind of a creative outlet for you as a young kid, especially since you were buoyed for many years. Love the article because I personally connected with it too. And a lot of other people were tweeting all about it. So I really wanted to hear more about your story and how you first went on your first Disney trip and what that experience was like.
Well, thank you. It was incredibly moving as for me to go on that trip when I was 7. I didn't expect to be writing about it per se, but when did it start for you campaign began for D23, and they reached out to some of us and said, hey, when was that moment? When was that experience? And I thought, oh gosh, there's so many amazing Disney memories, but then I realized that there was just that one specific one that really cemented it early on and left that impression. And yeah, it was back when I was 7, and that first trip, my parents surprised me and my sister. We were going to Disney World for the first time. It was amazing. And yeah, I had been bullied a lot as a kid, and particularly that year, as kids really understand what bullying is and cliques form and things like that. And going to the Magic Kingdom was really the first time where in a long time I felt accepted and felt celebrated and really loved everything that was presented to me and felt loved, which was great. And I feel like Disney still delivers on that experience to this day. And then I became a Disney fan, and getting to work as part of the fan club, certainly, and working to come up with ideas for things that we think Disney fans will like, having been a fan for many, many years now, it's such a joy. So
I always love those cast member experiences. I think that those cemented my family's entire vacation, and I just thought that was wonderful that you got to be in the Hoop-de-Doo show. I'm jealous. I still want to be the can-can dancer.
Oh my gosh, that was such a hoot, and it's one of those things that I will definitely never forget to get called up on stage and attack the mayor. It was so fun. Just an unbelievable experience.
I can only imagine. And I was so glad, because I just recently became a gold member. There are 3 different levels of membership. You can be a free member, a silver member, or a gold member. And they had an opportunity to go see the Hunchback of Notre Dame show at Paper Mill Playhouse. And it was such a surprise. I didn't know you were going to be there. So I got to meet you there and have this wonderful D23 fan experience, having a Q&A with Stephen Schwartz at the very end of the show, which was only provided to the D23 members, which was a good big group of us, actually, and a lot of fun. And these experiences are all throughout the nation. And you had the Faniversary last year. I got to attend that. That was fantastic. Do you love kind of just meeting all these Disney fans when you go to these events and just answering as many questions as you can?
Absolutely. Who wouldn't love that? I think we all do when we go and we have the opportunity to travel. it's incredible. I know some of our team is heading up to the Pacific Northwest Mouse Meet, and they're really excited about getting to meet the fans there. And when we're in Orlando, it's such a great experience. And places like Chicago, New York, places that we aren't normally in, it's great because we get to talk to the fans and not just hear their thoughts about D23, but hear about their love of Disney and what it is that makes Disney special for them, which is great. And it is always an ongoing piece for us at D23 is how do we give something to every kind of Disney fan, because there's no two Disney fans are alike. You may like Pixar and collectibles. You may like the 1955 Mickey Mouse Club and Star Tours. There's no one who fits. There's no one size fits all Disney fan, and we really do try to provide content and experiences that cross all kinds of fandom, and getting to do that's awesome because you get to meet all kinds of Disney fans. So when I saw you, it was great because there's all these Disney fans who love live theater, and some of them were then talking about, oh, and we're going to the Disney parks next week, or oh, and we also went to this Disney store event, and it's great because no one's interests are exactly alike, and yet it's still great to all come together to celebrate something that we just love in its entirety.
It's like a big family. And I was wondering, have you been introduced to any new Disney fandoms that you're currently obsessed with now since being introduced?
That's a great question. I have such a great appreciation for the Walt Disney Archives that I did not have coming into working at Disney and D23, and that's primarily because I didn't know what the Walt Disney Archives was. I was very much the fan, the type of fan whose fandom began when I was a kid. So that's all I really knew of moving forward. And then I loved learning how things worked and what was going on. So for me personally, the archives and getting to work with the archives all the time and having the archives be so intertwined with what D23 does is amazing. We learn new things every day here from them, and we're very, very lucky to be so close to them. And Stephen Vagnini on our team here at D23 was in the archives and is literally a font of knowledge. Every time I have a question, I walk over and I learn something new. It's amazing.
Did you find one Disney item in the archives that you were like, oh my goodness gracious, they found it?
There are so many items in the archives. I'm trying to think of one that stands out in particular. I have Walt's the original name badge from Disneyland. I think that's incredibly cool. That's going to be something on display at the expo, which is awesome. I love a lot of parks memorabilia because, like many people, my initial tangible experience with Disney was through the parks. So getting to see some of the pieces that they have from Disney Parks history is terrific. They have one of the little devils from Mr. Toad's Wild Ride, and every time I see that, I smile. So there's lots of just incredible pieces in there. It's great, and then they've got cool things like apples from Enchanted, and Enchanted's a fantastic Disney movie that I love and I think is brilliant. So getting to see that, and there's just so much. Again, one of the great things, and you were mentioning that one of the benefits of being a D23 member is you get these, or a gold member, you get access to these tours of the studio lot we do several times a year, and you get to go into the archives and see some of these items. They're regularly rotating out exhibits, and they always have really cool stuff in there.
I'm hoping to get over there at some point. That would be really fun, but I'm very excited because the D23 Expo for 2015 is coming up in August. There's so much that has been announced so far. We have the Goofy Movie 20th Anniversary panel with some of the voice cast and screenwriters of the film, the Aladdin panel, which again has some of the cast and crew members and animators and directors, the Mickey Mouse Club, the original Mickey Mouse Club panel. This is such a huge event. How in the world are you working through planning this and keeping organized? I would go crazy.
Oh, it is a team effort, 110%. Every single person here is on all cylinders and a few borrowed cylinders there's so much to do, and it's so exciting, and getting to work with the other parts of the company that are helping put together these experiences and presentations and shows and all sorts of things is just unbelievable. And I can't wait for Disney fans to come and see this stuff. It's just going to be fantastic.
Besides Walt Disney himself, has there been an interview that you would have loved to put together for the D23 website and magazine with a specific individual who has worked for the Disney company that is no longer with us?
Me personally, I would have loved to have interviewed Annette Funicello. I think she contributed so much to Disney and Disney's legacy. She was such obviously not just the Mickey Mouse Club and some of our movies, but was a prominent presence in the parks even. And that to me is fascinating. And I had a very close relationship with Walt, so I would have loved to have heard her take. Also, she was such a strong activist for multiple sclerosis, and I think that's so commendable and really speaking out on behalf. So that to me is very fascinating, and I would love to have had that opportunity personally.
As I said before, there's a ton lined up for it, and I can't wait for the expo, and I know there's going to be plenty of surprises that we're all the fans and I are very excited to see. But I wanted to ask 3 Disney questions I always ask my guests on the show. I call them the Fab 3. So we'll start with the Donald question, which is, as a child, what Disney film was one of your favorites that you'd like to watch over and over again?
As a child, well, see, this is where I show my age, because as a child, I didn't have the ability to watch a Disney film over and over again because there were no VCRs or DVDs and no Disney Channel at the time. But Pete's Dragon was certainly a movie that I saw several times as a kid in one of its releases and loved it very, very much.
Our goofy question, what Disney character do you think would be your best friend if you met them in person?
Wow. Meg from Hercules. I think Meg and I would get along very, very well. I love her sense of humor.
She has a lot of sass, too. She's amazing. She can tie her own sandals and everything, as she says.
Yes, it's been a real slice. So I think she and I would hang out and be good friends.
And our Mickey question, if I asked you to name any Disney song at this very moment, what immediately comes to mind?
That's how you know from Enchanted, because we were talking about Enchanted a few minutes ago, so some of the songs started running through my head.
Don't you just wish we could have been in that NYC scene in the park?
I do. We could be running through Central Park and canoeing and, all sorts of picnicking. It'd be awesome.
Oh, man. I can't wait for the sequel. That will be really fun. We'll have to get ourselves as extras in the background.
That'll be fun.
That would be fun. Well, I have to thank you again for sparing us some of your time, because I know you're getting busy for the D23 Expo, which I want to plug again. That's going to be in Anaheim, California at the Convention Center near Disneyland. Of course, Jeffrey's going to be there. You can follow him on Twitter at Epstein Jeffrey. It's backwards. And also you could follow D23 at Disney D23 and head to their website, d23.com. If you're considering a membership, I highly recommend it. Again, thank you so much for coming on the show, Jeffrey, and I hope we have you on again to promote another fun event for D23.
Well, thank you so much for having me, and I would love to come back, so thank you.
That's how you show up. That's how you know. You got to show up and be proud. Don't take the light. That's how you know. He's your love.
Well, thanks for everything, Herc. It's been a real slice.